Let's now shift our attention to the other big story that we are tracking on WION. And today is the second day of the case of genocide that has been filed by South Africa at the top court in the United Nations. And today Israel is responding to the charges that have been leveled against it by the South Africans. And this is a case where South Africa is accusing Israel of committing a genocide on the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. Now, Israel has termed these allegations as profoundly distorted and has also claimed that the case does not reflect the ground reality as Israel sees it in the Gaza Strip.
The attempt to weaponize the term genocide against Israel in the present context does more than tell the court a grossly distorted story. And it does more than empty the word of its unique force and special meaning.
Now, Israel's top lawyer at the International Court of Justice at The Hague said, and I quote him here, the entirety of the case hinges on a deliberately curated and a decontextualized description of the current realities. He further claims that Israel is not seeking to destroy the Palestinian people, but is working to protect its own people who are under attack on multiple fronts. Ahead of the hearings, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu claimed that Israel has been accused of genocide at a time when it is actually fighting a genocide itself and is not perpetrating, according to him, a genocide on the Palestinian people.
To indicate the provisional measures that are so urgently required.
We are fighting terrorists and we are fighting lies. Today, again, we saw an upside-down world in which Israel is accused of genocide at a time when it is fighting genocide. Israel is fighting against murderous terrorists who committed horrific crimes against humanity.
Now, the Americans are, of course, backing the Israelis. The U.S. State Department has called the South African case as unfounded. On day one of the hearing, South Africa, remember, brought in this case and has accused Israel of breaching the United Nations Genocide Convention that was signed in 1948 in the wake of the Holocaust. South Africa wants Israel to immediately stop its campaign of bombing the Gaza Strip, where at least about 23,000 people have been killed and more than 60,000 others have been grievously wounded, maimed and mutilated. The Pretoria says that Israel has crossed the red line, that even the brutality of the Hamas attack could not justify. Now, remember the attack that Hamas carried out on the 7th of October, over 1,200 people in Israel were killed and about 200 Israelis, including soldiers and other civilians, were taken as hostage. The post-apartheid South Africa has been a champion of the Palestinian cause and has often linked its struggle to its own fight against the discrimination and also the apartheid era where the South Africans were discriminated against. Now, Israel has derided South Africa and has called it a legal arm of Hamas. It has said that the case is one of the greatest shows of hypocrisy in history. For the emergency proceedings, the court will not rule on the genocide charge, but on whether the rights of the Palestinians in Gaza to exist are at a risk. And our correspondent Calden Ongmu is joining us live from Johannesburg and is getting us more details on this story. Now, Calden, this is an important case which South Africa has, of course, brought against Israel, where it is accusing Israel of committing a genocide on the Palestinian people. Tell us what is the premise of this case and why the Palestinian cause resonates so much with the people in South Africa.
Well, Salah, today is the day 2 of the ICJ court hearing. Israel is making submissions before the court. Yesterday, as you read, South Africa made its submissions, very detailed submissions on why the court should say that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, and they are seeking for an interim measure where, asking the court that Israel should immediately move out the military from the Gaza Strip. Now, why this is important for South Africa? As I've said time and again, this did not start for South Africa's friendship with Palestinians did not start on October 7th. Their support did not start just then. for over 7 decades, South Africa and Palestinians have been friends, and they have been, even former President Nelson Mandela has been supporting Palestinians from then when Yasser Arafat was the president of Palestine. So after that, even though you've seen time and again many presidents coming in supporting Palestinian people, you've seen over the last few months since that October 7th Hamas attack, South African government, vehemently they have condemned Hamas for the actions, but say that wholeheartedly they support the Palestinian people, and it will be hypocritical of them not to do so, because South Africa has gone through what the Palestinians are going through right now, and not to support them will be otherwise for South Africa. Of course, not all South Africans are on board, as the ANC-led government is supporting Palestinians, but the second largest political party in South Africa is not. They say that South Africa rather, focus on the home grounds, the worries that they have on the home grounds. And South Africa must not be hypocritical once again. That's the opposition party leaders saying that, there are enough troubles at home. South Africa hasn't said anything that's going on in Sudan. South Africa has not respected or even supported. But to jump over and, talk and even take this case up to ICJ for Palestine is hypocritical. But today, what I can tell you, Salah, Israel is almost done making the submission. They were given 3 hours of slot. Israel, in its defense, have told the court that South Africa is distorting truths and it only wants to talk about one side of the story. And South Africa yesterday, they are accused of not touching on what Hamas did on October 7th, where Israel is stating that that Hamas actually butchered people, they kidnapped people, they raped people. So the case is going, the submissions by Israel is going on right now. But after this, what's going to happen is after both the parties have made the submissions, South Africa yesterday and today, Israel, the court is done hearing from both the parties. They will then weigh its initial response, which is expected within days or even weeks, as some experts say.
That's going to be very crucial as to how all of this will play out. Thank you very much indeed, Kaldinong, for joining us from South Africa and getting us all those updates. We'll of course come back to you as more details continue to emerge in this story. Now this, remember, has been such an important aspect of this case, and our correspondent Jody Cohn has been tracking the story and is giving us the Israeli perspective of how this case is playing out within the state of Israel. Let's in fact listen to what Jody Cohn has to say.
Thursday was South Africa's opportunity to make its case at the ICJ. It accused Israel of deliberate genocide through the war and a lack of aid. Friday is Israel's turn to make its case. Israel has suggested it has done more to try to protect civilians than any other country in the history of warfare. It says it has evidence that Hamas uses Gazan civilians as human shields and that Hamas purposely embeds itself in community centres like schools, putting civilians in harm's way. Furthermore, Israel says that it is not denying any aid into Gaza, but that Hamas is stealing much of the aid. It will take years for the court to make its final ruling, but a provisional ruling could be expected over the next few weeks. Meanwhile, there are fears that the Israel-Hamas war could expand as the US and UK have launched airstrikes targeting the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen. This follows a series of Houthi attacks on shipping in the Red Sea. Iran has called the airstrikes a violation of Yemen's sovereignty and a breach of international law. Israel's defense minister has suggested Iran is the source of attacks from 7 fronts on Israel, and the US, UK, France and others have called on Iran to de-escalate. This is Jody Cohen for WION World as One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.